So our first community sector award is from New South Wales. It's the Connections program. The Connections program is funded through the New South Wales Ministry of Health and operates across New South Wales, assisting prisoners with drug dependence problems in preparation for release from custody and reintegration into the community. This is achieved through the assertive linking of participants with relevant health and welfare services, playing a strong advocacy role and ensuring participants have access to support services. To date, Connections has worked with 4,681 participants in the community. The program has a strong commitment to social inclusion principles. It has developed important relationships with a range of services, government departments and stakeholders to facilitate the transition process to the community. Its goals are to reduce mortality and morbidity rates and reduce recidivism of participants released from adult correctional centres in New South Wales. The impact of this approach to transitional work has resulted in better general and mental health, social functioning improvements and reduced reincarceration rates, together with associated positive outcomes for families, carers, the community and government agencies. It gives me great pleasure to ask Mr Stephen Ward to accept the award from the Minister. Mr Stephen Ward.
It's a great honour to accept this award on behalf of an extremely hard-working multidisciplinary team across New South Wales. Connections is available across all of New South Wales, working with people who have illicit drug users and are due to be released from custody. It's an assertive, practical approach to transitional work, linking people with services that can assist them in making positive lifestyle changes. This ranges from assisting people access identification, clothing, accommodation, furniture, food, to attending and transporting patients to appointments with various health and welfare services. Over the past 6 years, we've worked with over 5,000 participants, both prior to release and then the community. Participants are provided with a comprehensive assessment and release plan pre-release, and this agreed release plan is then put into action in the community over a 4-week period, ensuring that participants can access requested supports. The idea is not to duplicate existing services, but to utilise them and model behaviours that will assist participants learn how to negotiate available service provision. A recent review of Connections participants has found that those who engage with Connections post-release has significantly better social functioning, mental health, physical health outcomes, and participants are much less likely to die than had previously been expected. There have been 7 participants who have died within 4 weeks of release while on Connections, in comparison to an expected 112 people based on previous research. We've also analysed the length of time someone remains in the community following release to see if Connections has any impact. If someone returns to custody within 2 years of release, this is generally known as recidivism, and the previous New South Wales government has targeted a reduction in 10% of recidivism. Research a few years ago suggested that a 10% reduction in recidivism would save the government about $28 million on incarceration alone, without taking into account the costs associated with crime. When we analysed our data, we found that 100% of participants had returned to custody within 2 years before they participated on Connections, with the vast majority of those returned to custody within 6 months of release. After Connections participation, recidivism was reduced by 47%, with no difference found between Indigenous and non-Indigenous participants. Connections has demonstrated very long-term outcomes with very short-term interventions, something that cannot be found within the existing research literature in any other jurisdiction. Once again, it's an honour to receive this national recognition today, and on behalf of the Connections team, thank you.
Congratulations, Connections. Our second community sector winner is the Alice Springs Domestic and Family Violence Outreach Service from the Northern Territory. This project provides targeted outreach support to women living in Alice Springs and the surrounding town camps who are experiencing domestic and family violence. The program also runs support and education groups to women in town camps. The long-term goal is to provide an early intervention model to support women to live safely in their community without fear of violence, which is quite topical given that today is a White Ribbon Day. A majority of the women that are supported by this program are Aboriginal. Funding is from the Alice Springs Transformation Plan and an issue between the Australian and Northern Territory governments. A consultant recently evaluated the project, and it was found that 100% of the women interviewed reported that their safety improved with the support of the program. Women's return rates to the emergency accommodation decreased significantly, with only 42% of the women interviewed reusing the emergency accommodation, while a further 16% said their safety improved without ever using the emergency accommodation. I'd like to ask actually Ms. Dale Wakefield to come forward.
I'd like to thank the Minister and the Institute for this award. Not a lot of good news comes out of Alice Springs, and whilst Alice Springs Women's Shelter would be the last person to underestimate the complexity and the breadth of the problem of violence against women in Central Australia, we know lots of good work gets done every day, and individual women choose to access services to say, actually, I don't want to live like this anymore. So we're extraordinarily proud to accept this award on behalf of the women of Alice Springs, and I'd like to acknowledge my workers who are about as frontline as you get, and they do very hard work, and this award means a great deal to all of us. Thank you.
Our third community sector award is from Tasmania and goes to the Supporting Young People on Bail, Southern Tasmania. Supporting Young People on Bail is a voluntary, strength-based, solution-focused diversionary youth justice program. It aims to reduce youth crime and the number of young people held on remand and detention in Tasmania by supporting young people aged 12 to 17 years in the southern region of Tasmania to re-engage with educational, vocational employment and recreational opportunities. Youth workers work one-on-one with young people, designing individual bail support programs that are presented to the magistrate. Practical, therapeutic, mentoring support is provided to the young person during their bail period to help them meet their goals in their plan. The young person's willingness to work toward their goals is reflected in their sentencing. 61% of the 62 young people in the program over the past 2 years have not reoffended. This figure could be as high as 80% because not all have been sentenced. The project is primarily funded by Save the Children. I'd like to invite Mrs. Lisa Kewitt to accept the award and a cheque for $15,000.
I'm very grateful, Save the Children's very grateful for this award, so I thank the Minister and for the Australian Institute of Criminology. We established the Supporting Young People on Bail program 2.5 years ago, and the focus is really on the young people in the program. So we work with their goals and aspirations in terms of education, vocation and recreation, and it's those goals and aspirations that actually form the basis of their bail support plan which is presented to the magistrate. So I think it's quite innovative that a magistrate gets a bail support plan that says, I want to be a boner mechanic, I would like to learn to play golf, I want to get my learner's licence. And it's from that basis on that we work with the young person. There might be a whole lot of other issues that need to be addressed, but in the first instance, we work with the young person's strengths. We're often asked, why is the program so successful? And really it comes down to the thing that connects us all as human beings, and it's about relationships. And it's about a positive role model mentoring relationship between the young person and their youth worker. So we use that relationship to help the young person see a different way of being and a different future, using the power of words to make positive impact, the power to transform and the power to sow seeds for the future. We work collaboratively with other organisations, with Youth Justice, the Tas Police Early Intervention Units and other community partners. And we also work holistically, recognising the importance of not only working with the young person but working with their family. I'd just like to conclude with a quote from a young person who said, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me, getting in trouble with the police. Which we went, oh, because he went on to say, because then I met you and this program and you helped me get into a course. And he said he was the first person in his family that had ever done a course and actually finished a course. And that says it all, really. It's working with young people at a particular point of crisis and shining a light on a positive future, an alternative plan for the future. So thank you very much.
Okay, the fourth community sector winner is from Shepparton, Victoria, and goes to the Rumballara Football and Netball Club's Street Safe, a community approach. The program operates as a community-based intervention which is culturally sensitive and positively manages the behaviours of disaffected Indigenous youth in Shepparton and surrounding areas. It also facilitates pro-social behaviours by involving youth in sport, with police involvement, with Indigenous community and peers acting as positive role models to keep the whole of the community safe. The result is the lowest offending rate for Indigenous youth in Victoria. The partnership delivers elements of both situational and social crime prevention by using sport and a whole-of-community approach to prevent crime rather than just doing individual measures. The approach works due to the active participation by Shepparton Police as an integrated part of its service delivery model. The police actively implement cultural sensitivity training for all their staff, and they honour a statement of cooperation with agreed outcomes that has been operational since 2005 and formalised in 2008. They meet on a regular basis with all stakeholders. The community operates the Rumballara Football and Netball Club under the guidance of Paul Briggs AM to provide a socially inclusive and safe environment for team sports and community, and provides respect for elders and decision making that works beyond an individualistic level to include decisions on behalf of the team and the broader community. The staff is trained in culturally appropriate youth work, and the environment provides for mentoring, positive role modelling and acceptance of self and others. This community-level approach is endorsed by having health and mental illness issues responsibly addressed by the Rumballara Health Services, which includes family and community in consultation with Rumballara Football and Netball Club and the police. RFNC's Rumballara Nibbles program offers employment, and between the 4 partner organisations and a young Indigenous person is comparatively at far less risk of offending. I'd like to invite Mr Paul Briggs to accept the award and a cheque for $15,000.
The team's here today, and I'll thank everyone, but good morning and thank you to Jeanette for the wonderful welcome to country. I'm glad to be on your beautiful lands, and from the Yorta peoples of the Shepparton, Goulburn Murray area, we bring our respect and thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge Minister Michael Keenan, Minister for Justice, and I think our local member, Sharman, hello Sharman, is in with us from Shepparton, so thank you. With me today is one of our foremost CEOs in Australia, Felicia Dean, CEO of the Rumballara Aboriginal Cooperative in Shepparton, Inspector Ian Bull from the Shepparton Police, John O'Enderson, one of the Aboriginal Police Liaison, and Rex Taylor, who's working with the health promotion elements of the Rumballara Football Netball Club. The club has 13 teams, 9 netball teams and 4 football teams, 7 of which are under 17s in that category. Social inclusion, cultural affirmation, economic engagement and leadership collaboration. These have been the driving platforms for community development and reform in Shepparton, and it is reform not just in Indigenous community but across the sector. In 2002, the then Chief Commissioner of Police, Christine Nixon, became our #1 ticket holder in our club, and she and we began walking the talk, building trust in relationships that historically and generationally has been hostile and defensive, Aboriginal people and the police. We have built exceptional institutions like our parent organisation, the Rumba Co-op, one of the premier organisations in Australia. Community ownership is strong in both the Rumballara Football Netball Club and the Rumballara Aboriginal Cooperative, and supportive of our relationship with the Justice Department arena and the Shepparton Police. Most recently, the 2011 ABS says in Shepparton we have had a 17% increase in jobs across our community, whilst comparatively in the non-Aboriginal community it's been 5%. So I think we've narrowed the gap just fractionally in the employment sector. Also 21% increase in weekly median income in our families, so the building of wealth creation in families, compared to 10% in the non-Indigenous community. So again, we're starting to bridge those gaps. Shepparton, in contrast, is the 3rd most disadvantaged area in the state of Victoria. In that, we have the highest population of Indigenous peoples. There's about approximately 6,000 Aboriginal people in our area, but we have the lowest rate of offending due to the great leadership and the institutions that we've built across the community. Community and kids are feeling better about themselves, and inclusion and ownership of the community in which we live in Shepparton is stronger, and the gap is closing if we can maintain the impetus, and we're trending in the right direction. So good morning and thank you very much.
Okay, the 5th community sector winner is from Western Australia and goes to the Constable Care Child Safety Foundation's Theatre in Education, Harm Prevention and Citizenship program. The program aims to effectively communicate violence, crime prevention and citizenship messages to children aged 3 to 13 years through puppet theatre and interactive drama. In July 2011, and in conjunction with local government partners, a number of safety priorities were identified. These were community crime prevention, violence and harm prevention, graffiti prevention, cyberbullying, internet safety and online protective behaviours. And a range of theatre in education shows were developed for primary school children in conjunction with relative stakeholders. Across the school year, approximately 160,000 children under the age of 14 years will see a Constable Care show. Constable Care's engaging theatre and education model has been shown to be an effective tool for driving attitude and knowledge change in children and young people. And I'd like to invite Mr. David Gribble to accept the award.
Constable Care Child Safety Foundation is delighted and thrilled to be the recipient of this award. The organisation started life in 1989 as an initiative of the West Australian Police Force and became a charity and a not-for-profit organisation in the mid-1990s. Since that time, through the medium of theatre and education, we've worked with over 2.2 million West Australian children on subjects as diverse as racism, violence prevention, road safety, respect for the environment, bullying, protective behaviours and a host of others. Our partnership with Edith Cowan University demonstrates for us that the program is effective in changing knowledge and attitude and intent to behave amongst children aged 3 to 13, and we're moving forward into the future in our 25th year next year to start to work with at-risk youth and secondary students in an older cohort to do participative theatre that's designed and research evidenced to suggest that it can change longer-term behaviours around issues such as mental health, peer pressure and alcohol abuse, etc. The organisation also has a range of value-added programs that it builds around its core theatre activity, including hosting the West Australian Child Safety Awards, which recognises all of the activity in Western Australia around child safety outcomes, as well as providing lost child prevention and management services at all of Perth's major family-oriented events, and providing comfort packs for children in crisis who engage with child protection or emergency services workers. So I would like to say thank you again to the Institute of Criminology for recognising the work of the organisation and to the Minister, and we're very proud to receive the award. Thank you.
Okay, our sixth and final community sector winner is actually an ACT project, which is nice to see. Local group makes good. And it goes to the High Density Housing Safety and Security Project. The project involves 4 interlinked elements: crime prevention and reduction, community safety and security, community development and access to services. All 4 elements involve working through RecLink Australia's on-the-ground project manager, together with a range of government and community agencies to address safety and security issues with the residents of the Ainslie Avenue high-density housing sites. RecLink Australia works with a broad range of high and complex needs residents, including residents who have been previously been or are currently involved in the criminal justice system or at risk of becoming involved in the criminal justice system, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, women, children and youth, and socially disengaged or isolated people. RecLink Australia offers a range of structured and informal programs and activities and promotes ongoing participation opportunities that prevent or reduce opportunities for crime. It also promotes community safety and security through the development of pro-social and law-abiding community engagement processes, and facilitates access to justice, health, mental health, education and employment services. I'd like to ask Mr. Mark Ransom to accept the award.
I do a lot better when I'm wearing my boots and my shorts, folks. Okay. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Minister and the AIC for this amazing award. It's a great honour to receive it. I'd like to thank my CEO, Adrian Panozzo, sitting there from RecLink Australia, who runs one of the best teams in the country when it comes to working with people with disadvantage. Importantly, this project has been based on developing partnerships, so I'd especially like to thank the ACT government, and in saying that, Department of Justice and Community Safety. The help and support we've had from there has been amazing. Equally, ACT Health for their support on the ground, ACT Policing as well. So thank you from the ACT government. Importantly, one of our other partners, Australian Red Cross, and without their support on the ground, this project wouldn't be where it is currently, but I must admit we've got a long way to go yet. And I think if anyone I would like to dedicate this award to, it's the amazing people that I work with on Ainsley Avenue. Because without those people being brave enough and strong enough to say, we want to make a change, we want our neighbourhoods and communities to be safer, stronger places, none of this could have taken place. So there's no shortage of amazing people who live on the avenue despite its reputation. Okay, you hear about the bad people, you don't hear about the good people, and there are hundreds of them, thousands of them, in fact. And they're the people who get me through every day of the week on the strip. So thank you again, Minister. Thank you to the AIC. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, the Australian Crime and Violence Prevention Awards also recognises projects organised by those in the police sector that demonstrate a contribution above and beyond normal day-to-day policing efforts. And the first recognition of the first award, if you like, we're giving out today is given to the Support Link e-referral management system in Queensland. The Queensland Police Service implemented Support Link statewide as its main community policing program for all persons at risk or vulnerable persons in the community. Officers across the state are now aware that a criminal justice approach isn't the only option available to police. If officers aren't able to provide the appropriate social assistance to the individual, then they can offer a referral to a welfare or support agency to assist in addressing the client's needs. Support Link provides a secure web-based e-referral system to connect clients with local, state and national support service agencies. Police access to the system is facilitated through the QPS computer network via a portal to the e-referral system. Over 250 welfare agencies have signed memorandums of understanding to be part of the Support Link network. Police are able to refer clients for a wide range of issues, including domestic violence, drug and alcohol abuse, crime prevention, elder abuse, neglect, victim support and counselling, road and other trauma support, and suicide prevention and support following suicide. The program's key objectives to reduce offending behaviour, to also reduce police calls for service, to improve early intervention and diversion outcomes, have all been achieved. A key aspect of the QPS-based Support Link is the funding it has received from Ex Strata Coal for $5 million to implement the referral system. I'd like to ask Acting Inspector Mark Edwards to accept the National Meritorious Police Award.
Thank you, Minister. Firstly, I'd like to obviously thank the Australian Crime and Violence and Protection Awards Board for their selection and endorsement of the Support Link project as a national award winner. Secondly, I'd like to thank the CEO of Support Link, Tony Campbell, and his wife Heidi, who are here today, and State Manager for Queensland, Bruce Graydon, who isn't here today, for their vision and commitment towards the project. Support Link is an invaluable tool that the Queensland Police Service has used to obviously offer support to vulnerable people. As I said, since its introduction, there's significantly reduced domestic violence repeat calls for service and being able to provide police with the opportunity to refer persons at risk to a support agency. I would also like to acknowledge Glencore, Ex Strata, who without their financial commitment, I'm not sure if this project would have got off the ground. Lastly, but certainly by no means least, I'd like to thank the Queensland Police Service and my Assistant Commissioner Paul Stewart for their support and assistance to me for the project over the last 2.5 years. Thank you very much, and I feel very honoured to receive the award. Thank you.
The second award is given to the Multicultures Project Queensland. The Multicultures Project is a suite of crime prevention programs and initiatives that effectively respond to the needs of a school-wide community. Targeting both victims and potential victims of crime, the project provides opportunities for schools to engage in activities promoting positive social behaviours and improving cross-cultural relationships. The project has worked directly with almost 600 students, along with dozens of schools' leadership and teaching staff across several schools, as well as numerous community organisations. The long-term goal of the project is to foster an improved culture within participating schools of cross-cultural collaboration and harmonious relationships, with a measurable reduction in local crime, including violent crime. Since 2012, the project has been funded under the Attorney General's Department via crime prevention funding, with in-kind contributions being made from project partners. I'd like to ask Sergeant Jeff Nix to accept the award.
We're very pleased to accept the award, the Mount Gravatt PCYC. Thank you to the Minister and the Institute. The program was designed to assist Sunnybank High School 6 or 7 years ago. They had a lot of issues with their different cultures. They've got 68 cultures at the school there. A lot of them weren't getting on, and they were at their wits' end trying to deal with some of the issues. So we were contacted, and a program was designed called Multicultures. And what we tried to target the many of the leaders of the different cultures and get them involved in adventure-based activities like canoeing and abseiling, and but we also did some music and dance aspects of the program. So the students were doing activities and working as part of a team, and instead of fighting with each other, they were working together. So it worked out quite well, so that at lunchtimes, which was the main, lot of issues at lunchtime, they might have been, where once they would have been fighting, they'd walk past and see some trouble brewing and say, hang on, he's all right, I've just been canoeing with him. So it worked out quite well. The school's really appreciative of how it's worked out. They've really embraced the project, and their incidence of aggression and what have you has reduced vastly. It was mainly it was teaching tolerance and acceptance of other cultures, and so it's worked out really well, and we're thrilled to be doing it, and we're taking it to another school next year, so that's very good. I'd like to pay tribute to my staff for driving the program. 3 of them are here today: Jeanette McGee, Drew Stevens and Claire Pelt, who Claire was there when we started the program and helped design it. So it's pay tribute to their hard work. Also like to thank our CEO, Rob Fiedler. He's always been a good friend of Mount Gravatt PCYC and a big supporter, and our newly appointed Assistant Commissioner, Stuart. Thank you. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, our third police award and our last one today at the national level is given to Bambadji Student Services. On Mornington Island, minor conflicts between students can escalate into major community violence and unrest. The Bambadji Student Service manages the conflicts between students in a timely and culturally appropriate manner. Further, it provides targeted activities and education to students which assists in preventing violence in the community. The key strategies are a mediation service to assist disputing students and their families, the We're All Family community-wide anti-violence promotion program, resilience building activities for students, social media monitoring and traditional role education for Indigenous youth. I'd like to invite Senior Sergeant Rob Fiedler to accept the award.
Right, thanks everybody, and I'm particularly interested to hear the Minister's background with Amanda Vanstone earlier, because we based a lot of our philosophy in Queensland on the Pathways to Prevention model that she did, I think, about 2001 with the Griffith Uni in Queensland. The Bambadji Student Service was a program that we're very proud of in Queensland's PCYCs. It runs on Mornington Island. If anybody doesn't know where that is, it's a little speck in the Gulf of Carpentaria, so it's one of the more remote communities that we've got in Queensland. I'd like to pay tribute to the people who actually developed the program. I've had very little to do with it other than supporting it. Our Uncle Frank Watts, who's a PLO in the community and one of the community elders, Andrew Seckleton, who's another one of the PLOs who works at the PCYC, and Sergeant Dave Ives, who's the branch manager at Mornington Island PCYC. They couldn't be here today. 2 of them are ill, and one of their partners is ill. So unfortunately, we'll make sure the awards get to Mornington Island. And as Mrs. Phillips said in relation to, she abhors violence and likes to talk, Uncle Frank was the same. He saw the violence that's happening in the community and saw there needs to be a better way of doing it. So they actually used the young people into their traditional methods. He takes them hunting, he takes them doing traditional spear making or tool making, and gets them out off the island into one of the neighbouring islands, and actually gets the kids back to their initial cultures. And it's making a huge difference up there. As you heard from the background of the program, there's a 7-stage process within the program, and it's one of the things that we are having a lot of success with is getting around the social media problems that we're having in these communities, where all of a sudden a Facebook post or something else gets inflamed within the community and we've got a major violent issue on our hands. So they're curbing those areas, they're addressing them. If you've seen the ABC, I think it was yesterday, there's an issue around street fighting in some of those northwest Indigenous communities as well. And that's an escalation that we'll again keep working on to try and curb. So thanks everybody who was involved in the award process. A very informed and wise decision that we've got the award. And thank you for the recognition of Queensland Police Service and PCYC in Queensland. And thanks Paul Stewart, our Assistant Commissioner, who's just come on our board of the company as well. So we're going very strong, and I'm hoping to be back here next year and cleaning up again. Okay, thanks very much.
I was talking to Kevin Lawton before we started. Kevin's the South Australian board rep, and even though there's a bit of work that goes into sort of reviewing all the various, well, in this case 59 nominations, it's actually a real pleasure because you get to hear about all the amazing things that are going on in communities and the amazing work that people like yourselves are doing, and it sort of lifts you up, especially because sometimes the work you're doing is pretty depressing. So I think it's great, and I think what we've heard today are 9 very diverse projects, but also 9 very amazing projects that are doing really good things in their communities, run by locals with a lot of support. That working together thing comes through really clearly for me, and I think that's great. These are the national awards you've been hearing about today, and that we've reached the last award's been given out. But we also announce each year a whole range of other awards that are delivered at the state territory level. And what I'm going to do now is read out the other projects from this year's nominations and the awards they're going to be getting back in their jurisdictions. And that will happen over the next few weeks as the government and police organise the ceremonies. Okay, so other awards that are happening this year. There are 7 projects that will each receive an award of $5,000 and a certificate of merit. And they are It's Time to Talk About Domestic Violence in New South Wales, the Plan Today for Tomorrow Pre-Employment Program in Western Australia, CALIS Remote Community Youth Program Support and Development, NT, the White Ribbon Australia's Breaking the Silence in Schools Program, New South Wales, which is obviously timely, collaboration between the Gold Coast Domestic Violence Prevention Centre Incorporated and Queensland Corrective Services on the South Coast Region of Probation and Parole, Queensland, the Walking on Eggshells Project, South Australia, and the Gold Coast Street Meet Program, Queensland. One project will also receive an award of $3,000 and a certificate of merit, and that is the Elder Abuse Prevention Program in Western Australia. We then have 3 projects who will each receive an award of $2,000 and certificates of merit. That's the Don't Go There Girlfriend, Victoria, Ponky Mediator Training Program from Tiwi Islands in the Territory, Portland Secondary College's Re-Engagement Program, PrEP Program in Victoria. We have 2 projects that will each receive an award of $1,000 and certificates of merit. That's the Elizabeth Riders Committee in South Australia and the Pacific Youth Cultural Reconnection Program, New South Wales. We also have 5 police projects that will each receive a Meritorious Police Certificate. That's the Domestic Violence Web Link in Queensland, the Juvenile Cleanup Program in Western Australia, Graph Off in New South Wales, the Central Coast Integrated Domestic Violence Response, Central Coast Area Domestic Violence Integrated Case Management and Education, CC Advice is the shorthand, and Brisbane Water and Tuggerah Lakes Local Area Commands Domestic Violence Teams, New South Wales, and the South Coast Local Service Area Youth Engagement Program in South Australia. 2 other projects will receive certificates of merit. They are Support Link Trials Rural Victoria Police Project and the Home Safety Program of ACT. And finally, 3 projects will all receive a commendation letter, and they're all run by the Acacia organisation in Western Australia. And that's for the Acacia Animal Care Training Program in WA prisons, the implementation of safer custody at Acacia Prison, WA, and the Acacia Skype program. I think we should acknowledge the fantastic work done by these award winners for our communities. Please give them a hand. And I think very briefly what you get there is the diversity of what's going on around our country. And these are the projects that we got this year that got awards. Every year we get 50 to 60 projects that are doing this stuff, and they're always out there doing stuff. I think it's just great. And so those projects that we heard about just then will receive their awards and ceremonies later in the month. Okay, so now we're at the end of the program. Thank you, Minister, for taking the time to present the awards to our national winners. The projects named today highlight both the dedication of the Australian community and police services in preventing crime and violence. They demonstrate some truly creative approaches that are being used by communities to achieve their aims. I thank everyone for coming along today to recognise the award winners for their excellent contribution and commitment to the prevention and reduction of crime and violence in Australia. Please tell other groups about the ACVPA awards. Ask them to nominate their own programs next year. I think the awards are really an excellent way to recognise valuable community-based crime prevention work. Thank you very much.